Okay,
Is that better?
yeah, it's better. It's better. Nice.
Sweet.
Okay, so how you been?
I've been really good, man. How are you? Spring's here. Can you see the green?
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
Green that is.
What state is that? I forgot already.
Idaho.
Idaho. Yeah, it's. I noticed it in Florida too. It's starting. Well, it feels like summer. It doesn't feel like spring anymore, but it seems nice to be out there.
Oh, it's unreal. Everyone's playing outside. Everyone's crushing. Everything's growing. I don't have to haul hay every day now. Like the animals will be able to just eat grass. It's awesome.
It's still a bit laggy, but I don't want to. It's like in and out. They're saying you have Hindu Wi-Fi.
That's all right. I'll take it. Let's see if I can adjust the settings. As long as the audio is good. I mean, I don't really change the way I look very much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They do want to see you, but
Here I am.
you were streaming earlier. Was it? It was working earlier.
Yeah, it's about the time of the day. I think it's where when the Sadaloon passes over.
Why is Idaho like that? I've never heard that the time of day. That's like something in Haiti.
Yeah, it's population density. I mean the city near me has 8,000 total people, so they just don't concentrate the signal as much here. And I have the fastest internet you can get. It's attached to a giant Wi-Fi cable. It's all good.
It is funny, like you're so off the grid that your internet doesn't work.
Can you? But you can hear me though.
Nah, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot that I wanted to catch up with you about. You've been really active on Twitter recently. You've been streaming more. But how's everything in Idaho? Is it like I don't know about your cows and about the farm and about what it's like raising a family out there. I want to hear a little bit about that.
No, it's good, man. I mean, right now, if you want to hear like what our day-to-day is like, it's like my wife is freeze drying all kinds of stuff. We're selling eggs at the farm stand. We got to get one of the cows pregnant again. That's like I have a sperm guy who always giggles when he describes the sperm, which is really funny.
You have a sperm guy?
Yeah, like a cow sperm guy. Like there's a guy that comes in a little truck and it's just filled with sperm. And he like gives you like a catalog of like what kind of cow you want, like who the dad is. And then you inject. And then 10 months later, you get some more beef and a lot more milk. But my sperm guy's real giggly.
Your sperm guy's giggly. Wait, how does he get the sperm in the truck?
They have these breeder steers and they just get tons of sperm out of them. And then they ship it all over the country. And he was late one day and me and my wife were joking. It was like in the middle of the winter. I'm like, if you got in an accident, the street is just like a giant streak of cum. Because he's just in this truck filled with sperm. But it's a very important part of the whole process because if cows don't have calves, they don't produce milk. And right now our milk's pretty low. But and then you eat their kids. It's pretty intense. It helps you understand the way global economics works. It's all about eating the kids. That's the way the WEF views us.
Eating. Wait, I don't understand. I don't want to ask too much about this, but how does he
ask away. It's fine.
How does he get the sperm from the cow?
Well, they put a machine on the wean and they just milk. I mean, there's a certain type of male cow that gets milked just like it's a female cow. And they just get all kinds of it.
Okay, so
they're draining.
And then he puts it all in one bucket. Like, does it separate the samples, or is it just a giant bucket of cum from different cows?
Well, it's a massive distribution cum network. So there's it's like Bitcoin. You have cum miners. No, but seriously, like you'll have like some really good steer. You might get a lot of cum out of that guy. You put them in like small vials and then you distribute it over to other cum shops throughout the country. And that's why it's interesting how many cows are actually related, because one steer will have like 50,000 calves in a year. And you get the cum based on, do you want longer teats, more meat, higher fat volume? It's pure eugenics. And that's why every farmer is like on some level a eugenicist, because you literally breed for traits and you put rubber bands around the males that you don't want breeding and you call them brave and beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Like that's the thing. Like when the LGBT thing kicked off, I'm like, dude, they're just castrating males. It's like being a human farmer requires a little more panache. You can't just say we're gonna castrate you because we don't want your genes. So they encourage brave and beautiful sodomy behavior, and that's how they do it. It's pretty funny.
So the cow sperm is kind of like an analogy for why the West is crumbling in real time.
Yeah, I mean but it's all consent. I mean, the West crumbling is all consent driven. It's also like where is it crumbling and who's crumbling? Because human beings, we're the ones who make the decisions if we're going to procreate or if we're going to self-destruct. And they just the farmers of man just put in ideas, and if you bite on that idea, it's kind of like how the American Indians couldn't handle booze. So they were faster and stronger in a lot of ways, and they knew the environment and all this, but they had the weak booze thing that the Europeans had gotten through like 1,000 years before. And so that just took them out. But it's still consent. It's like they couldn't not handle the booze. And I know like right now, what's going on with a lot of quote unquote white Americans in the West is a low birth rate. That's why I was like, I thought what Andrew Tate was saying was pretty funny. I wasn't, all these whites are getting offended. I'm like, it's true though. It's like a lot of white families will have a combined income of like 90 grand a year, and they think that they can't have a kid, and they wait till they're like 45. And that's like, that's depopulation, that's eugenics, but it's all by choice.
White people definitely have kids the oldest. When I was growing up, some white kids had moms and dads that were in their 60s and 70s. Like when I was 12, when I was in 5th and 6th grade, their parents were the same age as my grandparents because they wait until they're completely financially secure to finally start. But I mean, you're one of the few people that's actually like living what they rap about. You have how many sons? You have 4?
4 sons, yeah.
4. And he makes a good point. And I knew that you were gonna understand when Andrew Tate was talking about the white population decline. What did you think about that? Because a lot of like white people were spurging out, and they got really upset.
He was doing race jokes that I appreciate, because I do race jokes too. It's like I was telling people, I'm like, what kind of a psychopath would I be if I'm doing stolen bike jokes, fried chicken jokes, but someone can't make fun of white people? But the key is you make fun of like negative traits of a race, and then it's a win-win. I thought it was funny. I like racial comedy.
Why do you think it's a win-win? So that the race has to work on their inadequacies?
Yeah. You shame bad behavior, and the members of the race that aren't doing that can enjoy the laugh. Like if people talk about like white cucks or like gay whites or something, I don't get offended. Or like fat Walmart whites on a mobility scooter. I'm not like, hey, wait a minute. Because I'm like, yeah. Just like when I make fun of blacks with like bike theft, it's like, unless someone's stealing a bike, why would anyone get offended?
Why do you think so many white people got upset? Do you think that he pointed out a clear problem that people aren't speaking about?
Yeah, that, and he antagonizes for rhetoric, which I also do. So I understand that. Some people don't though. And he's like, Andrew could be like, he will intentionally insult, but it's to get an emotional state to like persuade. And I do that all the time. So I get it. But some people don't, they actually get insulted, and then they feel like, they feel inadequate or something. Cause I mean, he was saying 10 kids minimum, and I'm like, I got 4, and that's probably it for me. Cause my wife's getting into her mid-30s. And so I'm like, I laughed though. I was like, that's really funny to make it seem like I'm like at 4 kids, I'm like a pussy. It's how you shift an Overton window though. It's like you go so hard that the conversation goes way over here. Cause I remember Gavin McInnes used to do that, and I appreciated that. Gavin McInnes said, 3 kids minimum or you're gay. And I couldn't stop laughing because I never thought of it that way, where it's like 3 minimum. My whole life, everybody was always talking about, having 1 kid or maybe 2 kids. And just to move the conversation, I think is good. And then to antagonize about like dick size or like how women want blacks over whites, it's going to piss off whites, but it has a good result, because it's like, no, fuck you. You know, it's like that competition is good for everybody. And I don't mind that at all. Cause then you just make fun of them back. You can just be like, um, well, at least we don't drink crunk and pump and bail, you know, like it's all about sticking around. So you teach your kids not to shoot a gun sideways and drink purple drink. And that's fun. That's like what men should do versus like that creepy racial thing that happens when people don't just make fun of each other, you know?
And it's very surprising and very hypocritical that the same white people who talk about how many faggots are controlling the West and how everything's getting pussified and all this, and like they want to bring back real masculinity, and then somebody has a normal conversation, you know, instead of trying to censor it, talk about something that's true in a provocative way. And instead of like poking jokes back, they just get really offended and they start to say that he's controlled opposition and that he's a Jew and all this stuff. It's like, this is the type of dialogue that you want and you advocate for all the time. Like you say that you're a high testosterone Trump supporter, and then you start crying when he talks about how, you know, white guys prefer porn over having a relationship with a real woman.
Yeah, but whites, the door is open to make fun of them back. It'd be like, you know, 30 kids with 40 baby mamas, that's how you end up in jail. Like, that's fine, you know, but what he's saying is also true, where it's like, you got to start having some kids. You got to start making it count. You got to build that family. And like to poke them, I completely agree with you. A lot of these quote unquote free speech guys are so full of shit. I see it in comedy all the time where, you know, everybody wants to be against cancel culture until someone makes fun of them the way that they don't like. And it's like, are you a savage or no? Like, are you, I see that all the time, man. Some of the biggest like comics that bitch about cancel culture can't hear me make fun of a Jew, you know? And I'm like, so what is the problem? Was the joke not funny? No, but some things you just can't say. I'm like, dude,
Why?
that's the whole argument against you, you know? For me, it's all about intention.
Yeah.
That was always my point about the hard N, is the intention. A word can't be bad without an intention because a word doesn't have consciousness.
Correct.
And that's always my point, you know? And so I can tell if there's some creepy troll that wants to like destroy my family or something, or someone's making fun of me. And cause like I've seen people make fun of my kids, say crazy shit, and I don't get offended because I can register that they're just being aggressive and funny versus like that creepy, you know, illegal type trolling that is different.
What would you recommend to the white people? I guess the people watching right now, I have a younger demographic for the most part. I guess also to the white people that got really upset about Andrew talking about the lack of, you know, talking about the whites are declining really fast. There's not, they're getting overrun by illegal immigrants and they're race mixing more than ever. What would you recommend for the young white male or just young men in general to do to start a family? You know, what?
Yeah, just have a family. Yeah, you got to be the solution. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my hate group sketch. It's called Hate is Great, where the hate group keeps complaining about what the Jews are doing, and they realize the solution is just their choice, where it's like to stop watching porn, to have more kids, you know, all this stuff, to get out of debt. All the answers are in their own hands. And so I recommend that if you think you're being replaced, have a ton of kids. If Andrew Tate offends you, first admit you're gay, then give me money for being gay. No, but seriously, like you can always just make fun of someone back. It's like, because what happens is people get bottled up where they don't think they can make fun of black people or Jews or something like that. You can just be funny, but don't be like creepy. Because what happens is if people aren't allowed to be funny, then they like bottle it up and they get real weird where they're like, oh, we got to kill all the blacks. And I'm like, no, the right answer is you make fun of them for drinking, you know, that purple isn't a flavor and they drink so much they get diabetes. I'm like, that's the joke, you know, or like, oh yeah, you can have a lot of kids, but you keep going out to get menthols and now none of the kids, all the kids have a fat mom, you know, do that, you know, and then you're fine.
Yeah, making jokes is definitely better.
It's jokes.
It's better than shooting up a school, right? To let out that pent up rage in a joke rather than kill someone and make a manifesto.
Well, and it's beneficial. It's like you make fun of blacks for bad diet, no dad, I don't know, diabetes, like fried chicken violence. shame bad behavior, then everybody does better. It's the same with whites. It's like make fun of whites for cucking, letting the woman run the house, waiting too long to have kids, venti frappuccinos, being fat at Walmart. You know, there's a million jokes about white people, naming your kids dumb shit. Like, you know, I don't know, like dumb white names. Like white names can be just as dumb as black names, you know? And so it's like that mockery is good for everyone because when people are mocked, they don't want to be shamed in public. So it'll change their behavior. And, you know, I like that.
But
I like that
it
a
really
lot.
hit a nerve because white people know deep down that maybe they're not the world power that they used to be. That the days of the British Empire conquering everything and their dominance on culture, media, and even population is pretty much over. So it definitely struck a nerve. But I want to ask you about Daily Wire because you bring up a good point about intention with jokes. I got in some trouble because I was making a joke about Palestine, and I don't really believe in the idea that a joke can be in bad taste because if the intention was to make somebody laugh, I think it's good most of the time. And I was making a joke about Daily Wire because Brett Cooper works for Daily Wire, and I was making jokes about Israeli Wire and how like I basically I would do a collab with this Daily Wire girl. I would nuke Gaza to collab with them because we're understanding how they support Israel. But I saw you've been tweeting about Daily Wire quite a bit. What's been changing? What shift have you noticed?
I just think that their little scam isn't working anymore. I call it boomer brain, early onset baby boomer brain, where, you know, Jeremy Boring and these guys, and this guy called me mentally ill and a threat to my family 5 years ago before I got kicked off, right as I was getting kicked off Twitter. And now I'm back and I was posting those screenshots. I'm like, dude, this is crazy that he was saying this. And now he's saying, like, if you question the 9/11 narrative or the moon landing narrative, like you're not American. And I'm like, did your foreign bosses, how do your foreign bosses feel about me questioning panda bears? You know, like who gets to make these freaking rules? And the Daily Wire, I think that baby boomer neocon thing is falling apart. And it's not a big deal. Like you don't have to hate people. They don't have to be stopped. They just have to be viewed as what they actually are. And they're just Israeli propagandists that are infinitely hypocritical. And, you know, that's it. Like once people know that, I don't even care if people exist. I'm like, hey, like when I used to go off on Steven Crowder, it was because no one knew that him and his wife split up. No one knew that him and Nake Jared did not have the falling out that he claimed. It was like lies. And then once people know, I don't care anymore. I'm like, that's it. If you like them, go for it. But that's what's happening. It's kind of like the Daily Wire, where as long as you know they're an Israeli news company and that their bosses aren't even American, then fine. Then if you like it, good for you. But I just felt bad for people that didn't know that thought that, you know, Ben Shapiro's a real cowboy patriot. He's going to take the vaccine. We got to, you know, go to Gaza, kill some babies for America, Ronald Reagan. And it's not. He's an Israeli citizen, and that's it.
Who's
You know,
this guy?
I don't even care.
Who's this guy you're talking about?
Like Ben Shapiro. It's like the thing that bothers me isn't that he's an Israeli doing American propaganda at all. It's that people didn't know that they don't know there's dual citizens. They don't know that his number one goal is to, you know, get America to sign off on wars and all this stuff. And he just pretends to be like a conservative patriot in his cowboy hat. And that's the only thing that bothers me. It's same with Joe Rogan. If people just know that he's super short, I got nothing against him. You know, he's really small. And now that people know how short he is, mazel tov, you know?
What about Jeremy Boring? I don't know anything about this guy, but you said that Jeremy Boring has boomer brain. I think it's similar. Like the boomer brain infected a lot of people, and so a lot of people are waking up because of how Daily Wire is being exposed. Can you explain the idea of boomer brain?
Yeah, that right now, if you don't think that there's astronauts playing golf on the moon with a Muslim and a paraglider with Ebola, you know, it's these narratives are clashing so badly. You know, like, oh, Iran was stopped by the Iron Dome. It's like, but they couldn't stop a guy in a paraglider. Like these aren't working anymore. And so same with the moon landing, where it's like the evidence has been destroyed. The tech cannot be rebuilt and no one can go back. because we don't have the money. Like that's like American Psycho level lying of like, I'm returning videotapes. You ever see that movie?
Yeah, of course. I have to research the
Yeah,
videos.
when he's just like, where were you? He's like, oh, I must have been returning videotapes. It's like, it's such naked lying that, you know, people are starting to see through it. Same with nuclear bombs. Um, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not in the top 10 most destroyed Japanese cities, and there's no fallout radiation. And I'll point that out, and people get so pissed off. And I'm like, the evidence is, and right now everyone's debating, should we have dropped a bomb on civilians? Should we have not? The nuclear bomb. I'm like, what's the evidence that there are nuclear bombs? Those cities weren't exceptionally destroyed. Tokyo was more destroyed. A bunch of them were, and they were never evacuated. The flora and the fauna never died. The water was never poisoned, and there's no radiation. And people are like, oh, you're an idiot. How? I'm like, there's no proof. There's no evidence that they exist. And so why even be scared about that? I'm like, there's gnarly shit out there. There's directed energy weapons. There's mustard gas. There's drones, and, you know, there's crazy shit, but nuclear bombs aren't one of them. And so when you start pointing this stuff out and then the ego flares up, like Jeremy Boring in 2021 said that the vaccine is the greatest scientific achievement. And the thing about having boomer brain is when you're wrong, it's like you're almost even more right and you never have to be held accountable. And so now, you know, when people are trying to lie into wars and scare the shit out of everybody, it's like, that's why I like that Tate talked about that. The real nuclear bomb is the nuclear family, you know? And if you got to antagonize the whites, if you have to have kids to spite the blacks, good. Like, that smiling Andrew Tate. Want to know how to turn that smile around? Make them fear, as if you have a ton of white kids. It's hilarious.
What do you
know? It's that's why.
What's the conspiracy theory that you notice get the most amount of pushback? I've noticed that you've had that fight throughout your career, and with people that are always nitpicking and trying to call you crazy. What's the one that gets under the people's skin the most? Right, like. You've been talking about the nukes. There's like, you talking about Antarctica. Some people are saying that's un-American to question 9/11. Which one is the one that you're not supposed to talk about the most? Like, what gets the most pushback?
Anything space related, anything related to space, NASA, interstellar missions, you know, anything related to the theory of relativity. That's and I think the theory of relativity like ruined physics. It's like horrible. And I actually did a podcast today. I'm on Rumble. It's Owen Benjamin. If anyone wants to check it out, it's called the Three Body Problem. It's this Netflix show, but it's actually true in physics where if you have three bodies that are operating on their own, their interactions become so chaotic that no one can predict anything. It's kind of like the climate change models that never came true. Like 2006, Al Gore, everything he said, nothing happened. They do that all the time. That's why I think they like the binary system of politics, because if you get in a third party, the interactions make it so you can't make any predictions. It happens with like if you put a pendulum on a pendulum, its motion is complete chaos. And so there's huge limitations to science, and these baby boomers or boomer brain, you can have early onset boomer brain, you'll hit them and their ego won't let them admit it. That's why faith is so important, like a creator, because you'll get to a point studying the material world where you literally go crazy. And people call me crazy and unhinged and all that. I used to do a physics podcast at Caltech where I would literally interview like Nobel Prize winners. And I'm really into science. Like I always really liked science. And I realized theoretical physics is like Hollywood script writing, except you're not even expected to make anything. It's just nonsense. And so you see these guys and they don't know why everything's falling apart and nothing makes sense. Is like Brett Weinstein calls it the Cartesian problem, where they don't know what they know. And so I threaten the shit out of those people. I don't try to, but when you just point out the obvious questions, like why did no one die at home of COVID? Everyone died in a hospital. Why were there no deaths of COVID at home? Who did Jesus pray to? You know, it's like these simple questions will piss people off, you know, because it's not because the question's so stupid, it's that it has a point. And so, uh, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they weren't in the top 10 most destroyed cities. Dresden in Germany was more destroyed, and there's no fallout radiation.
Why
Like how
why is it space that gets people the most upset? I mean, who does Jesus pray to? That I understand why you brought that up, but like space, why do you think that that triggers people the most?
because I think all of space, all the space astrophysics, I think it's all about inner space, where it's like the black hole where light doesn't get out and sucks everything in around it. I think that's like narcissism. It's like a personality type, or like this is gonna get a little hippy dippy, but just hear me out. It's like the planets are like chakras, you know, whatever that means, just various things like that. Like multiverse is when you lie. So like universe is like the truth, like the one verse. Verse is a series of words, uni, one.
Mhm.
The multiverse is like they make up a lie, and now that narrative exists and the real narrative. And every time they lie, they have to do a multiverse. And then it gets to a point where they're holding on by a string theory. And now I can lay out all the words. It's all about inside your mind. And so the NASA world has been given, you know, Star Trek, Star Wars, all this stuff where you have these fantasies of far off lands where, you know, where aliens coming from far out places and all these rockets and all the narratives around it. But it's really about what's going on in your own heart and your own head. And it's really Jungian, where if you look at the rockets themselves, it's either a male or female genitalia, where the phallus, you have the two rockets, and blue origin literally is a dick. It's like there's the head of the dick, the shaft. But if you look at, you know, the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars, that's the uterus. Like you have the uterus, and then you have the little, you know, it literally is a biological vagina. So you'll have the vagina flying through space, and then you have the penis flying through space. And so people get really emotionally attached to like bouncing around on the moon and all this shit. And it's not real. And it also alleviates them of feeling judged by like God, because if there's a vacuum out there and we're spinning in emptiness, there's no up, you know, there's no heavens. It's just chaos. And when you get a little more grounded in what you can prove, now I don't know what is, like I don't know what the model is or anything, but I know that there's no evidence that we're spinning or in a vacuum. You get more religious feeling. You get more like someone designed this, and it isn't, you know, an explosion in a vacuum where people banged and mutated so much a child's eyeball was created. Like that's not reality. There's a conscious hand at work with creation. And you know, evolution's falling apart. My friend Vox Day did all kinds of math about it, about rate of mutations and all this. It just doesn't hold any water. And so I think part of it is they want to reject God because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to feel like anything matters. They want to feel like when they die, they don't have to pay the bill, like the baby boomers.
Wait, so I have a couple questions, but okay. So basically, you're saying that space was designed to make us feel like we're like really insignificant specks in a meaningless void, right? It's the quickest way to go separate us from God. Space is fake, the Earth is flat, and God exists above, right? Space is they put it in movies because they want us to think that like it's endless and endless forever. It's the quickest way to push people towards atheism, but really, it's a lot smaller than we think, and God is above. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I don't know how much is intentional. I mean, I go through phases where this was designed to keep us from God, or people that want to shirk their responsibilities are drawn to it because it's like you're less responsible with the space narrative, and that nothing really matters, and that, you know, we're in chaos and it's expanding into infinite oblivion. So why have kids? You know what I mean? It's like those are the things that depopulate. So it's like, okay,
Right.
why would I have kids? Because eventually one of those generations will deal with the end of the world, because the Big Bang stipulates that everything is cooling until it becomes nothing. So why have kids? And I don't know if it's done to us or people want to just use that as an excuse to be selfish. You know, I don't know how much of this is conscious. And, you know, because I know some of these elite Jew guys, and man, they're like not doing great. Like they believe so many of their lies. Like one of my listeners, this Jewish dude, was like, "Yeah, we're having a Passover dinner, and every single person there is going to have been vaccinated 8 times, and they all have either a gay or a trans kid."
Was he saying that ironically or unironically?
No, that's real. Like that community is like, it's like under a lot of lies. A lot of these people, like
Oh, okay. I figured that they were aware of all the lies and they were just laughing, like, rubbing their hands together while everybody else got the vaccine. But they're doing it too. They're also believing in their own.
a lot of
lies.
these guys. I mean, there's probably a level that gets it, but it's like, I think that when you lie, when you create the multiverse, it catches up to you. And I've seen that with people I care a lot about. Like you can lie and rub the hands and sow deception and benefit from that. But for how long? I once read this book where if you write, it was this former FBI guy. It was really he was all about interrogation. And then this other one that was all about social engineering, where if you write out a story that is not true, a year later, your mind will remember it as at least partially true.
Right.
Because you're committing to it. You're like writing it. That's why people used to say it has been written, it has been spoken.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't like we're not born to lie. We can lie, we can be deceptive, but it really weakens us when we do that because we end up tricking ourselves and then you end up, you know, becoming like a baby. You become like an infant whose ego is always lashing out because you won't face the truth. And the truth is we can't comprehend the totality of God. And science can't show us how there's so much symmetry in the world with infinite, you know, bodies interacting with each other in chaos. It is beyond our comprehension. And a lot of the smartest people go the most crazy because they're like, no, I have a 170 IQ. I can figure this out. The 3-body problem is real. It's like when you have 3 sets interacting with each other, you can't make predictions, but yet there's the Fibonacci sequence and everything all over the world. So this world is in ratio, it is in balance, but yet we can't figure out how. And so that's when you just go, God, you go, God is great. And you just enjoy it versus, you know, obsessing and going insane. And you're seeing so much of that insanity now.
So when your belief in God, does that come from the fact that you understand that you've reached the limitations of understanding why there's patterns and why everything exists? And so God must exist because we can't explain the patterns and the sequences. Is your belief in God relinquishing control, or is it faith in something bigger?
I have little of both. I have you know, I think on a material utilitarian level, I just see the limitations of the human mind, and I see the logical impossibility of something created without a creator. You know, like and we have this mentality where like you look at a loaf of bread because people say, who created God? And so you look at a loaf of bread and you're like, the paradigm would be a superior bread created the bread. It's like, no, it's a baker. It's like you can't even fathom that dimension. It's like a baker baked the bread. And all bread has a baker. And so that's the unmoved mover to me, where it's like a dimensional issue where there's clearly a creator, clearly benevolent, clearly merciful, but punishes if you start subverting and start rejecting, you know? And so, and I've also just had moments in my life of synchronicity or just belief or mercy where I just feel, I feel like God's real, you know? So there's a little bit of both.
So you said earlier, like, who does Jesus pray to? Which is a Muslim belief. Like, we believe that Jesus was a prophet. I don't want to, like, you know, sometimes I talk about this and people think that I'm like forcing religion on them, but I'm wondering,
No,
like,
no, it's what you care about. It's why I talk about shit I care about. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm wondering what your reservations are with becoming or with Islam, if you have any, because you saying, who does Jesus pray to? Jesus prayed to God. He did in the Bible and he did in the Quran. Why do you think that Islam does not answer all the questions that you're bringing up?
I don't know, man. I just I respect Islam a lot and Sharia and the logic of it and the symmetry of it. I just am not super predisposed to religion right now because I'm like, I don't know. I'm working. I might at some point, but I just you know, I start like, there's some like, it's still people. We're all still people. So I had like a talk with this one Muslim dude, and he was like talking about how whites aren't allowed to say the N word, and then like watching people promote that guy who set himself on fire. I'm like, yeah, like we're still people. You know, there's still going to be issues, and um, you know, I love the symmetry of Islam. I think it's got a bad rap. I have a ton of respect for it. I think a lot of those guys are have a really bright future because of that they're not lying to themselves about what money is, what sodomy is, what family is. But yeah, I don't know. I just for me it's just I'm just into people, and I'm into just being open to thinking about whatever I'm thinking about. I'm just not super drawn to like a certain religion, you know? Like
Right. You don't
I
want to be
just look
boxed
for truth.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what are your what earlier when you brought up the fact that you can't have any more kids, right? And you were talking about how it's gay to have less than 3. Well, you have 4, but and you said that you can't have any more because your wife is mid-30s. That's limitations again that Islam fixes, right? Like if your wife gets a certain age, then you can get another wife. I'm curious. I don't want to be disrespectful, but like, what's stopping you from having another wife?
I'm really happy. I mean, I don't think polygamy is immoral. I think that what the West already is doing is way, I don't even think it's a debate. So you can have ex-wives that you still pay for. You can do OnlyFans. You could drink poison water and bang a complete stranger, but not, you know, but it's somehow wrong to have more than one wife, which I agree with you guys on. I'm really happy. And I think having more than one wife would be, really hard. I think it would be, I don't know. It just sounds like a nightmare to me. I had a buddy who's Mormon. He's from a polygamous family, and his dad died of a heart attack at like 45. He had like 4 moms or 3 moms. It's, you know, you can get a lot of family out of that, but man, it's like, you got to be disciplined. And I'm just really happy with my wife and my kids. And I just get theoretical. Like if I've talked about polygamy before, it's just the moral theory of it, but I've never wanted multiple wives. Like having to like bond and deal with and manage and spend time with another woman and my wife, to me is like, it's like the stuff of nightmares, but you know, it's good for the birth rate. And there's a certain type of dude that can do it. I just definitely not me. I love that I just have my woman. Like she's my wife. We know each other better than anyone can know people. She satisfies me. She's great. My kids are awesome. I just have zero interest, but
Yeah, most
you know,
Muslims do that. Most Muslims are monogamous anyway, even though we are allowed to be polygamous. Most of them are doing
yeah.
exactly what you're doing anyway. It's a misconception that a lot of people spread. But you also brought up evolution earlier, and I did you see the Joe Rogan Tucker Carlson podcast?
I saw clips. It looked really good. I think that's, I'm glad that they did that podcast.
I didn't watch it yet. I wanted to watch it later in the stream and see bits and pieces about it. But the subject that everybody is speaking about, it seems like, is the evolution. Tucker Carlson saying that he doesn't believe in evolution. Do you?
No.
Why not? You don't think that there's like microevolution on a macro scale?
Microevolutions. Yeah, I think that environment and sexual selection forces can shift groups within a species, but no, I don't think it's never been witnessed. I mean, the thing I always go back to is evidence. Show me one, you know, one thing where the child or the offspring, even bacteria that replicates every 5 seconds, you'll never see one that is not the same species as what created it ever. And you can mix species, but their offspring are not, they're not fertile. Like you can have a lion and a tiger have an offspring, but that's now an infertile. They can't have their own offspring. And I think that's another thing that drives people crazy. They can't design animals. I think a panda is a fake animal. Like I don't think they've ever existed in nature. They're like abominations. They're ridiculous. I've broken it down. They ovulate 2 days a year. They eat, sleep, or shit all day. They're morons. They can't defend themselves. Their coloration is nothing like their surroundings. They're from the same environment as tigers. You know, like you could have a sloth that's from an island with no predators. Same with some of the birds of paradise. Dude, pandas are big, fat, slow-moving idiots that have supposedly lived around tigers. It's just not possible. So I think it's like a Shih Tzu dog. Like they bred it to be like that, but I don't think that they can survive on their own. I don't think that they could ever have offspring that don't need wild amounts of human help. And I think that way about evolution. I don't think that, a mouse slowly becomes a person because there's zero evidence of it outside of the ramblings of Charles Darwin, who's like his sister couldn't even look at a certain type of flower because they look too much like dicks. Like the whole family's all incestual. They're fucking nut jobs. People keep putting all their faith in these really crazy people. Like Charles Darwin is fucking crazy. And he's on an island. He's looking at different types of birds. And he's like, oh, evolution. I could show you 20 types of dogs. And if you saw a fossil record, you'd think that like a Chihuahua slowly became a Great Dane. And it's like, no, that's all at the same time from fucking breeding,
You make a good argument for pandas being fake because they have chlamydia all the time, right? They're always high because everything they eat, it's just getting them.
They're ridiculously fake. There's like they're not even. It's not even close to reality. So that was ever a natural animal. I mean, I think that animals exist called pandas. Just like there's a Shih Tzu, but they never existed in the wilderness. They didn't exist in Chinese literature or art until the end of the 19th century. The first time a 6,000-year civilization never drew or talked about a panda ever. They have dragons in their coins in their history and not pandas. It's bullshit. And they use the pandas for soft diplomacy. They charge $1 million a year and they own all the pandas and then they bring them home. It's a scam.
Why would humans create pandas? What's the motive behind making a whole species of goofy, chlamydia-ridden, lazy fucks like a panda?
Utility, I think it's to clear bamboo. I think they might have been designed just to get rid of bamboo. They only eat bamboo, and all they fucking do is eat bamboo. So that's a possibility. Another is globalist agenda. So you have a black, white, Asian vegan that never fucks. That's like their dream. So it's like they design this panda to get everybody to have all this like shame and, oh, we have to protect the panda. Who do we give money to? And it's bullshit. And they're these helpless, docile, stupid animals. And they're on the cut and they're like the symbol of, all these big grifty environmentalist groups. And I just think it's like to degrade the human. It's like, why can't I eat a panda? Like it shocks people. I used to be like, years ago, I tweeted at PETA, like 8 years ago. I'm like, I want to gut and eat a panda. And they were like, they freaked out. I'm like, why can I eat a bear and not a panda? Like I could raise them, right? I could breed them and eat them. Like what's so fucking special about a panda? And I think it's a big spell. And I think it's, I got all kinds of theories.
What else? I want to hear one I have never heard the panda theory and I like it. What's one that's crazier?
Well, the demon pan. I mean, listen, I don't know if this has ever been designed, but the word panda is like not Chinese. So you have pan, which is the demon flute player. And then you watch all these pandas. It looks like they're playing a flute with the fucking bamboo. I mean, that's a stretch, but there's stuff there. They're ridiculous animals. They're helpless. They can't defend themselves. They can't procreate. They're insanely expensive. China's known for making abominable animals. Like they do it all the time. They're always breeding shit to get real weird. And I think they sent out pandas. They started in 1947. It's the first time they sent out pandas. Interesting year. And they just sent them to all the countries. And I think that they were part of a program to influence the world.
That theory makes a lot of sense. I have to, and my first inclination is to think that that's retarded, but it makes it like they would get devoured by tigers. If they just existed, they can't defend themselves. They're really slow and lazy. They sleep all day. They have chlamydia, and all they do is just get high. You make a good point.
Videos, because you'll say, how fast can a panda run? It's like 20 miles an hour. Go to videos. You will never see a panda run faster than 2.5 miles an hour. They're like midgets in suits. They look up panda attacks. You'll never see them. Like they once attacked a zookeeper and it was just hugging it. And then wild pandas, they'll show like a panda in the wilderness and they're like, we swear it's real. Dude, it's all fake. just the fact that ovulates 3 days a year is insane. Like you can absolutely never have a species like that. So it eats and sleeps all day, pisses on its own face, can't defend itself. It can only theoretically get pregnant 3 days for an entire year. And then once it has an offspring, allegedly, it doesn't take care of it. The father doesn't stick around, and most of them die. They can't procreate in captivity. They're like, oh, they can only procreate in the wilderness. They don't procreate anywhere. They're ridiculous.
I'm on board. I think you're right.
Yeah, dude, a lot of people are getting on board. I mean, even like Prager, you guys, like Will Witt, he's not with them anymore. But I see Will Witt is like the day after I do the panda bear stuff, he's posting like pandas are fake. And dude, I'm like reaching out to these people. It's like Asians are getting on board. Like I'm seeing these Asian dudes. They're like, how come a panda isn't in our zodiac? How come it's not in any art? How come it's not in any literature? Why can't it defend himself? Like, and I've read Chinese literature, like the Tale of Genji, or was that the Tale of Genji or the Swamp something? I try to understand cultures by reading their literature, and no one has ever given a shit about pandas. They didn't exist.
Okay, so
dragons are way more likely to have existed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at a Komodo dragon. Well, flying around breathing fire, you think that's more realistic?
I don't know. I mean, there's like 10,000 more accounts and stories. So I'm not saying a dragon ever existed, but it's like, it's all over the world on suits of armor, on coins, in story form. There's dragons everywhere, and zero pandas ever. But yet people think dragons are fake and pandas are real. I'm not saying there's dragons now, but you know, there's so many stories of giant flying lizards. You know, South America, Europe, Africa, China, they all have stories of giant flying lizards. Zero panda bears.
Okay, so the panda question, I'm on board with that. But last time we spoke a little bit about Antarctica and what's beyond the ice walls. That's one thing that I can't fully wrap my head around, that there's the Anunnaki and whatever, that there's giants or something.
I don't make those claims.
Okay, you don't make those claims. So where does the Earth stop, and how does, you know, why
this is the beauty of knowing your limits. I have no idea. And like that alone, you asked me what pisses people off the most, dude, the fact I won't even get on board a specific flat earth dogma pisses people off. Cause I'm like, we can't know that. My whole point with all this stuff, with a lot of the conspiracies I look at, I'm like, this can't exist as described. Mm-hmm. The nuke, the panda bear, the moon landing, where the earth goes. I don't know. I don't even know what the earth is. You know, it's like, my whole thing is like, if you make the claim, you have to prove it. So you say the vaccine will save my life. Show me the evidence. Oh, they don't have any evidence. The evidence actually says it does blood clots. Okay. I'm not signing on. That's how I think. So like the ice wall makes more sense to me than the globe model, especially because the islands off it are like, swear to God, it's Rothschild Island and Deception Island. And
that's what it's called. It's called Deception Island.
Island and Rothschild Island are the two islands off Antarctica.
Always very.
And so, and you're not allowed to go. There's a treaty. You can't go. You can't fly over it. You can't do all this stuff. It's the highest landmass in the world. So if it was like a bowl, the ring would be the highest. Okay. After that, and I can't even sign off on that. I don't know. But that makes more sense than what they're claiming, that we can't fly over Antarctica because we don't want to disturb the penguins. Like, I hear adults say this shit.
Wait, is that the justification, that we don't want to go wake up penguins?
Well, they keep changing it. But yeah, I heard like legitimate, serious adult boomer brain types go, well, if we go there, we just make a mess of the place. I'm like, dude, you're allowed to go to the Amazon rainforest, the most species diverse, rich, delicate place in the world. You can slash it and grow fucking McDonald's beef. But you can't go to an Iceland where there's just ice. It's like, oh, well, we can't fly over because it would disturb the environment. It would disturb the penguins. I'm like, at 40,000 feet, you can't fly from Chile to South Africa to save a bunch of time because you're going to fucking disturb the penguins. Like, is that what you're telling me? And then with the treaty, how every country in the world, because people go, so all the countries are in on it? Yeah. You know, people are like, Yeah, they are. They're literally in on it. They all have agreed that no one fights about Antarctica. No one goes to Antarctica. And then within that structure, they'll have their little squabbles and beefs. But yeah, countries do get in on it. It's like they're not representing us. Like on a certain level, you're dealing with farmers of people. So it's like, imagine my cows looking at me like, me and my neighbor in on it because we share a sperm guy for the cows. I'm not a cow. Like I don't view myself as a cow. That's how the quote unquote elite can view the world.
Right. So I don't remember what your take was last, but what does exist in Antarctica? What's there?
No clue. That's the whole thing. Is like, I'm not allowed to go. People aren't allowed to go. How I just can't know.
Right, that's better than believing. Yeah. We don't know, like Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin, these crazy incestuous people do not know more than us about
exactly
the way the earth was created and how everything exists. That's a better take than, you know, trying to deep dive too much into all of this.
Yeah, like I've never met an Anunnaki, you know? I do think demons are real. I think jinn are real. I think that I've seen influences go in and out of people that I've witnessed that shit. But I mean, an Anunnaki, Nephilim. I mean, I joke that I'm part Nephilim because I had like 7 wisdom teeth and I'm 6'8".
What was your jinn experience?
Well, I've just seen influence. I don't know if you saw my Jerry Marzinski interview on here, but Jerry Marzinski was a prison psychiatrist and he would deal with schizophrenics. And he was the first guy to start asking them what the voices were saying. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, Notorious.
The Biggie movie?
That shit. What's that?
Notorious, like the Biggie Notorious B.I.G.
No,
movie?
it's not that. It's Nefarious. It's got like a Christian movie that's actually really good. That they did. It's like profoundly spiritually accurate about evil. It's not just like The Chosen where everyone's jumping around the desert.
Nefarious.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. And so I know a guy that movie is, I don't know if they based it around Marzinski, but this is his life. And so he would ask schizophrenics what the voices are saying. And the voices would be saying things that the host didn't know, like where to meet up someone for meth, or like there's $1 in the sewer drain and shit like that. And he was very skeptical for a while. And then he started having experiences himself. And for me, I've just seen things in people where I can't think of another explanation other than like unclean entities affecting them, because it's weird, man. It's like I mean, again, I don't have like evidence that demon and jinn are real, but that to me is much more believable, that we have like another realm that can influence us, like whether it's the angelic realm of like a peaceful feeling, or like, you know, everything's going to be okay, or like an instinct guiding you, or the demonic realm that's just like people have this voice just screaming in their heads to do terrible things. And I think especially a lot of meth heads have that, where they start seeing shadow people with green eyes and shit, and they'll like be a few schizophrenics and they're seeing the same shit. It's not like a hallucination in their head. They're like, the shadow guy's right there. And I'm on board. I think that's all real.
Yeah, some meth heads will talk to the same lampposts and they can hear it speak back at the same exact time.
Yeah.
The shadow people are real. Anybody who's tweaked off, I was prescribed Adderall when I was 12. I've seen the shadow people before when I took a couple of them, like during exam weeks. The shadow people will, you know, they lurk in the corner of the room and no one else sees them, but another tweaker is gonna absolutely know they're real. But one of the first things you say in the first page of the Quran is called Surah Al-Fatiha, and that's what we say every time we pray. And the first line is basically saying like, I seek refuge from the devil in Allah, and He's the creator of all humankind and all jinn. But jinn aren't just demons. Like jinn are yeah. Jinn. A lot of people have this misconception that jinn are just evil, but they're spirits, and they can be good and bad. They can be good influences and bad influences, and they exist outside of the body. And it makes sense, because why would this entity only have to exist within the confines of a human body? But I mean, they have to be real. Do you have any personal experiences like that?
Not really. I've had thoughts that, because the way Marzinski talks about it is like when you have a thought and you're like, is that me saying that? It's a weird exercise to do, but it's called that's not me is the exercise. And addicts do this too to get off stuff, where you'll have a thought or an urge and you just go, that's not me. And I've had strange thoughts that I'm just like, that isn't me. Like that's an influence. And so, like that's what the flu originally meant, influenza, the influence. And people would say that the stars were influencing. And no, I hear you about jinn. Like jinn don't have to be bad. It's like just disembodied souls or souls without material form. But I just, that's just my experience. Fortunately, I've never had like a full-blown demonic thing, but I've seen it in other people. I've seen people's eyes change, and it's weird. Like people's eyes get like dark and they act weird.
You ever see that video of that one preacher who's on the podium and he take it? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That preacher that takes so much money, he has a private jet off of like people sending money to have their prayers answered. That guy actually looks like you look in his eyes. Even if you're a disbeliever, you could be like, this person is possessed by something evil.
Yeah, and they have a hierarchy. I mean, I got a buddy who's really into this shit. He used to be a crackhead. And so he was in that realm and now he's totally good, firefighter, crushing. But he was saying that they have a hierarchy. And that is one thing that explains how the evil in this world can be so structured, because typically wicked people are very selfish and short-sighted. They just want, sex, drugs, fame, money, snorting. They don't have like principles. They don't have plans. But yet a lot of these things that we see carried out are like hundreds of years old. And so he was saying that there's like low level demons that are just like yelling and trying to get you to get scared or react. And then there's like management. And then he says it goes all the way to like the devil. But it's like, and they have like plans where if you submit enough and you hollow yourself out and do enough sin and show that you're so weak, they'll like use you, or influence you or tell you what to do to get more power, to influence more people, to do more bad. And yeah, I got that movie Nefarious like lays it out perfectly. Like how they show how it works is legit. Like they have an intention, like the hatred of man, and one of my Muslim buddies was saying that it's either in the Quran or a hadith that like the jinn pass through the sons of Adam like fish in the water or something. Like they just swim through us.
Maybe that's an explanation. I think you describe it, even though you're not Muslim, in a way that makes a lot of sense. Like those intrusive thoughts that you have. I know exactly what you mean. And I think sometimes, people who end up shooting schools, they start out as good people, but they start answering those intrusive thoughts in their head that, everybody has one. So everybody's had that thought. Maybe I'm just insane. Or if you walk in Times Square and you think like, I could mow everybody down right now. Like that's not a thought that's good or has any meaning. You just be walking holding a burger, and then you have like these nefarious thoughts. It must be something, because there's no reason that would cross your mind. And I think you described it in the best way, because that isn't you. Like that has no consistency with anything else that's going through your day. There's no reason for you to think those things. Everybody,
when people believe it, that's when they go off. When they're like, that's me. This thought is me. Dude, you got to talk to my buddy Gravy Sealbear. He's like a former Navy SEAL who does all this work in Africa with a shaman. He had to break so much mental shit. A lot of these vets do, because their mind, this is one reason why the suicide rate's so high in vets. They're like, their mind takes control and it's always yelling at them, faster, harder. No one likes you. You missed a shot, run faster, work. And it starts, and they start thinking that's them, where it's like the ego and the mind like take over. And then they have to like break that. And the way they do that, one of the main things is that's not me. Like I am a soul. Like my soul is made by God. Like these practices really help people, because if they believe that's them, they're fucked.
I've seen videos of witches talking about how, because spells are definitely real. The first time that I really was aware of the spiritual warfare that's going on was during a couple weeks ago during Ramadan. And I could actually like feel within my soul that I had the evil eye on me, and there were more attacks, like people actually praying on my downfall.
I did that too.
That's
Yeah, I
happened to
tried
you?
Ramadan too. Yeah, and it was I was doing the fasting too, and I felt that too. I felt like it was, and that's why I was trying to be really nice on Twitter for March Gladness, because I'm like, I'm not going to contribute to this because I could feel it. It might have just been because I was so hungry, but I was like, some shit's getting weird. There was like weird energy being thrown around.
You fasted all of Ramadan?
I did it pretty good. Yeah, I was a little after
Mashallah.
sun. I didn't do water, but I didn't eat lunch, and I would wait till just about sunset, and yeah, I really gave it a shot.
That's great. I didn't know you did that. Was it your first? It was my first Ramadan.
Like I kind of attempted it the one before, but it was more just like a spiritual test. It sounds so hard, but there's so much value in it that I was like, this is a good thing to try. It's kind of like trying to keep Sabbath, like one day a week, not working, not, just allowing yourself to recharge. Like on the seventh day, you rest. Like that shit's important, man. It's like it's like working out your soul versus your body. And so I gave it a shot. Yeah.
Well, the difference is Jews think that they can trick God. Like they'll put a string around Manhattan because technically the string is still within the confines of their house and they can still walk around. They'll have all these like contraptions to open up the fridge and turn on the lights. Muslims like you can't trick Allah. You can't trick the all-knowing Creator. So there's no really workarounds of Ramadan. And I felt it. Like I got like the IDF wrote my name on missiles like the same day that I could tell that there were attacks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I made it. After the first day when I saw that, it really affected my day. It's weird because it's like it doesn't really change my day to day, but just the fact that that existed and somebody had that much hatred, it did affect me spiritually, and that's almost never happened in my life. I don't really consider myself a spiritual person, but something was happening. But I've seen videos of witches talk about how the hardest people to cast spells on are Muslims because they pray 5 times a day. They're repeating these mantras that are positive, that you're seeking refuge in God to protect you from the evil in the world. And so I definitely think that's a testament to that. What was Ramadan like? Was practicing Ramadan, was that fulfilling for your soul?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I'm glad I did it. I had a lot of clarity, but yeah, it also felt very there was some wild shit going on during that I just was like yeah, but it was cool. Overall, I really enjoyed it. And it just, because one thing I've learned, and then I got to go. My kids have a violin.
Yeah, I know. I have a Lauren
Well,
Shed
one thing
coming up.
that I like about Islam, but it's true for any like truly spiritual person that is on that path, is God is your sustainer, And sometimes I fall into the trap of, like my website went down, my payment processor got canceled. And so I had like no income, other shit's going on, like weird stuff. And it was a great time for all that stuff to happen because I'll get in this trap of like, without money, I won't be able to have a family. Without money, but it's like, but God's your sustainer. And when you're physically not eating food all day, and you survive it, because you'll have this little voice like, eat it, snack it, grab some, grab a chip.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, just grab some. And when you don't and you survive, you're like, I didn't even need that, And it was a good month for that because yeah, we had like weird financial war stuff went on. And I had a great talk with my wife about like, we could downsize if we have to. Our family, our love has nothing to do with money. And I really reconnected to God, the sustainer, because even if you know that, you still don't operate that way. And a lot of people's assumptions are still like, if I lose this sponsor, I lose my money, I'm not cool in Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm ruined. It's not like doors just open up that you couldn't even imagine. Like those things are not our sustainer. And Ramadan, the thing that I think is great about fasting, and yeah, it's another thing. If you say Jesus did Ramadan, people get so pissed. I'm like, just call it freedom fasting. It doesn't have to be an Arabic word. Just be like, I'm freedom fasting. But I think doing that is so beneficial to be like, what do I really need? And I think that that's another thing about Ramadan that's helpful, especially for like really wealthy Muslims, is to get humbled by your gut, to get humbled by your stomach, where you're like, you're not indulging, you're not just taking anything you want. And you remind yourself who's really in control, and that, at any time we could lose our food or our water, but we're still sustained.
that you don't need anything else besides. If you can seek refuge in Allah, and you'll be okay. Like all the materialistic things, like anything else, anything worldly is temporary, meaningless than serving compared to serving our higher purpose. Owen, thanks so much for coming on. I hope your kids have a good violin practice. Hope to talk soon. It's really like it's a testament to how effective you are at communicating with my audience, and maybe just about how important Rumble is, because you've been lagging the entire stream and people are still paying attention. Like they haven't even been complaining about that, and I have a really whiny audience. So yeah, thanks for coming on. I hope to do this again soon.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks, SNEAKO audience, for dealing with my bad Wi-Fi. Much love.
All right, man. Love. Right, I forgot that his thing was chopping out. That's how fucking great yap, bro. Great yap. Owen Benjamin, man. You guys can check him out. Owen Benjamin. I saw this guy Irish Truth Seeker in the chat is saying that he streams every weekday at 2 p.m. on Rumble. I gotta watch the show more. I think we got a good back and forth, bro. That's a good collab to get up.